So we're going to continue our Reconstruction through a racial lens, and we're going to very briefly look at some of these political cartoons from Stony the Road. And I know they're really hard to see, but if you look up Thomas Nast, he's pretty famous for political cartoons, right? You can look at Reconstruction cartoons. You can see that this is a white man's government, and we've got Reconstruction, how it works. Now, there's some pretty popular ones that you may have seen before. We've got the Freedmen's Bureau down here, the KKK, worse than slavery, which, you know, actually I do have a picture of it. It's right there. Reconstruction, KKK, and it's worse than enslavement. There's, again, great book. You should read it. But the formerly enslaved are living and a new form of terror, because again, we talked about this now, they're free, but are they really? So the Freedmen's Bureau has been working hard to help formerly enslaved people, but things are hard, and there's always this threat of violence. There was already a threat of violence, but now it's even more aggressive, if that's possible. So in 1866, for example, the Freedmen's Bureau agent in Georgia complains that bands of men are roaming the area, and these men are calling themselves regulators, jayhawkers, and the Black Horse Cavalry. And these groups of men are committing the most fiendish and diabolical outrages on the freedmen, with the sympathy of the population and the reconstructed governments. So the freedmen are not getting sympathy from them. It is these small bands of men that are going out there causing trouble. And as you can imagine, these small bands of like, let's go fight for our rights, are going to grow into bigger white supremacy groups. Very particular acts of violence on May 1st through May 3rd in Memphis, Tennessee in 1866. There is what is known as the Memphis Riot. And this starts because white men see a black Union soldier, or more than one black Union soldier, in public spaces. Just some black men hanging out in their uniforms, and this enrages the white men in Memphis. And they decide that this means that the Negro domination is happening and they are being taken over, and we simply can't have this. And a mob of Tennesseans gets together and they kill 48 African Americans and wound 70 to 80 others because some black men were wearing Union uniforms. They also sexually assault black women, and the police and the press, when they cover this and when they go to stop it, they don't actually stop it, which is going to fuel the rage, because they start to justify the white man's actions. Like, what can you expect? This is what they're, this is their way of life, and now you're taking it away from them. Instead of supporting the victims and helping the freed people and, helping these enslaved people and these black people, the press and the police are supporting the white men, who are the perpetrators of violence. So the brutality of this riot does elicit even more sympathy from the North, which starts to advocate for more federal protection, court hearings, black men's voting rights, but it's not really getting any better. By 1867, we see white protective societies forming. And those are exactly what they sound like. These organizations are formed all over the South to keep the Negro in his place. And some of these societies you've probably heard of before. I mean, everybody knows the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, but there are so many more. We've got the Knights of the White Camellia, the Constitutional Union Guards, the Pale Faces, the White Brotherhood, the Council of Safety, the 76 Association. All of these names, all of these leagues are patrolling the areas to maintain order, right? But that's just code for we're going to continue to terrorize the black people. On state levels, they also band together. Louisiana has the White League of Louisiana. Mississippi has the White Line of Mississippi. South Carolina has the Rifle Clubs. you know, take from that what you will. But the goal of these groups is to do illegally what the law does not allow them to do, which is why they wear face coverings, because a lot of them are high-ranking members of society, and you certainly cannot bring shame to your family, even though most of the families are pretty proud that they are men or standing up, right? But still, if you are a government official, you can't be out there showing your face murdering these people, so you're going to do it behind a hood, and then everything's fine. Again, their goal is to exercise absolute control over the black people, to keep them from voting, to keep them out of office, to keep them in their place, to hold them down, and make sure that the white group is still in charge. The Knights of the White Camellia and the KKK are the most powerful. These men ride around, they're armed with guns, they're armed with swords, other weapons, and they are on patrol pretty much 24/7 across the South. And the Union troops are having a very difficult time trying to identify who these members are. They've been sworn to secrecy, they disguise themselves, and they have the respect and support of the white community. So it's very hard to really grab onto these people and identify any of them as actually committing the crime. And they usually do it in a group so that you can't pin it on just one person. The groups themselves use intimidation, force, ostracism, bribery, arson, and murder to accomplish their goals, like any good gangster unit does, right? You got to run things the way that you get things done, and you have to scare people. And that's what it is, right? The black people are terrified for their lives. And a lot of them are run out of communities if they are disobeying orders that the white groups are trying to enforce. If you are a black man caught voting, even though you have the right to vote, you know the white community doesn't want you to vote. If you are a black man caught voting, you are run out of town. If you're lucky. You may also be whipped or lynched, and nobody does anything because, you know, again, they have the support of the white community. In 1871, black officials in South Carolina are given 15 days to resign, and they have a warning that if they do not resign within these 15 days, retributive justice will be surely used as night follows day. And with a warning like that, you maybe don't want to stick around to find out what happens next, right? In 1874, a committee of colored convention assembles in Atlanta and informs the state legislature that they cannot find anywhere in Georgia where they can live their lives and say that liberty was perfectly secure. And if you think Georgia actually cared about that, well, you'd be mistaken. But they do attempt to prove this by going in front of Georgia, the state legislator, and saying, in this entire state, there is not one place that is safe for a black person or a black family to live. But Georgia just doesn't care, much like most of the other states don't care. And obviously not everybody is part of these groups and not everybody supports them. But this is a factual part of our history that we have to acknowledge, that getting freedom from enslavement does not mean being free. And if you are not free from fear and you do not have the freedom to live and live safely, then are you really free? It is a question that you really have to ask yourself, and it's a question that they had to ask themselves every single day.